is legit or not doesn't matter. I mean, it matters to Paul Manafort, but it doesn't really matter in this story. The Ukrainian government did this for political reasons to sink Donald Trump's campaign. There is absolutely no question about it. Y'all caught up? Is that my head swimming? Because remember, the press will say, nothing to see here. All of this is fact. All of this is backed up with solid reporting, with actual documents. No conspiracy here. These are the documents. But something else happens, okay? At the same time the Black Ledger comes out, Barack Obama decides to announce that there's a new ambassador in town, a new sheriff, and she's going to clean up this town. I'll tell you that right now. She decides to do a couple of things, okay? Lysenko, remember, he's the guy who replaced the corrupt guy. He's actually now sworn in. He's been a temporary guy, but he's now sworn in as the guy we all trust. Except there's a problem, okay? Because he still wants to investigate the missing money. So the new ambassador comes in and she calls Lysenko in for a meeting. And she says, look, there's some people that you just can't prosecute, okay? You can't prosecute people. You can't, well, we don't know the names of the people. They were unnamed Ukrainians. But also, you can't prosecute or look into anything here whose the vice president's son works for, and John Kerry's son is involved. And you also can't prosecute these people. Why? $1.8 billion, gone. Millions of dollars, gone. Wait, what? This is the U.S. ambassador, the brand new one? She comes in, the first thing she does is call him in and says, you have a hard line. None of this. And there's some people, too, we don't know who they are, some people, too, that you also can't prosecute, and they're Ukrainian citizens. Wow. Oh. She also does one more thing. Late 2016, she says, no visas for you, because he still has prosecutors looking into all of these things. And he just wants to get to the DOJ and our Attorney General. So they pack up all of their briefcases with all kinds of papers, and they come up with a few things that they just want to talk to the DOJ and the U.S. Attorney General, because remember, they're partners. These guys are partners with the FBI, wedding bells. So we should be able to communicate, right? She says no. No visas for you. No soup for you. And it was really nothing important. There were about 5 or 6 things that they wanted to cover. They wanted to expose that the DNC and Ukrainian officials were gathering dirt on Trump. They wanted to talk about the misappropriation of $7 billion of your money. They had Ukrainian officials admitting to influencing the U.S. election. They had records showing Burisma sending $3 million to Hunter Biden. They had Biden pressuring Ukraine to fire Shokin, because we remember, well, that damn Donald Trump, he pressured another government. They didn't care about this one apparently either. And U.S. officials interfered in the prosecution of cases in the Ukraine. This guy wanted his people to bring these things to our DOJ and our Justice Department, and Barack Obama said no. Well, he didn't. She did, by not giving any visas. No soup for you. Now, the next big day. First big day, opportunity. Did they have the opportunity to corrupt things? Did they have the opportunity to investigate and to embezzle money and to wash their hands of that money? Did they have that opportunity? Yes, because of this date. They got involved. This date was pretty important, but this date in November changed everything. This is the second most important day in this timeline, the day Trump wins elections, because nobody thought that was going to happen. These people had all played their hand that Hillary Clinton was going to win. Now Trump wins. Uh-oh. What do we do? Well, I'll show you what they did. In July of 2017, 2 years ago, the media had the opportunity to begin looking into Democratic corruption in Ukraine when the story was dropped directly at their feet. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she said during an off-camera briefing on July 12th, 2017, these words. Listen.
I think if there's been any evidence of collusion in 2016 that's come out at all or been discussed, that's actually happened, it would be between the DNC and the Ukrainian government. I don't often quote the New York Times, but even one of their reporters tweeted earlier today that why this example provides evidence of collusion, quote, cooperation was between DNC officials and officials from the Ukrainian government, not just some associate. Ukrainian actions to coordinate with the DNC was actually successful, unlike anything shown by Don Jr.'s emails. Information passed to the DNC from the Ukrainian government directly targeted members of the Trump campaign in an attempt to undermine it. And that was just Ukraine.
Okay. So the incoming White House press secretary alleges that the DNC was colluding with the government of Ukraine. Whew. Not only that, but together they specifically targeted people within the Trump campaign during an election. While this sounds like a scandal that everyone should be worried about or looking at, no, this is about Joe Biden and Trump's phone call. Now, if the media had any shred of credibility at all, you would expect this comment to kick off at least one follow-up question. I mean, I'd be knocking people over to get to the microphone and say, excuse me, what's this all about? I mean, it would be the first question, right? Following a bombshell comment like that, I got to prove it or disprove it. Tax increases on upper-income investment earners. How much do the CEOs of healthcare industry, how much do they make? Because that was the follow-up question. Yeah, they didn't even recognize it. Well, the first person didn't. But the second person, it was about Flynn and Kushner and Sessions and Don Jr.'s Russia contacts. So they seem to miss that. I don't know. Selective hearing, perhaps. I have that with my wife sometimes. I have to admit it. Maybe they thought Sarah Huckabee Sanders was their wife. Who knows? The media was hand-delivered an insane story, gift-wrapped in a nice little Tiffany's box. Boom, out. All they could think about was ask about tax increases and then back to Russia. And the media wonders why Trump is losing his mind every time they ask him a question. Okay, so who is doing all of this? Well, there are two people that went to jail. Yeah, I'm sorry. There were two people that were convicted. They haven't gone to jail yet because their case was overturned by a technicality, and the prosecutors are retrying it as we speak. Now, who were the people that the Ukrainians decided to take to court for interference in a U.S. election? Wow, that seems like a name we should all know, right? You'll never guess. It was this guy. You remember the Black Ledger and Manafort? It's this guy. Oh my gosh, this guy's the head of this thing. He's going to jail? How ironic. The Anti-Corruption Bureau, the head of that, is corrupt. Who would have seen that one coming? Oh, and who's the other guy? Yeah, this guy. They go to court and they are convicted, found guilty of interfering in our elections. Media doesn't cover that here. Who would be interested in something like that? So the verdict is guilty, but the evidence was interesting. First of all, in April, former Prosecutor General Lysenko, the good guy, remember, that came in after the bad guy was taken out? He decides to give an interview with Ukrainian media. And in that interview, he makes a stunning comment. Quote, "I don't know how, but the Americans got an audio recording of Mr., how do you say his name? Sitnik, of his conversation." Now, that's the guy who ran the Anti-Corruption Bureau. He was resting with his family and friends now and discussing how he'd like to help Hillary. So the guy who was in charge of the anti-corruption, they caught him on tape talking about how he'd like to. Well, let me play it for you. Now, this is the first time, strange because it's been out in the newspapers in Ukraine, this is the first time that we know of that this has been translated by anyone in the media in English. I just want you to listen. Now, the speaker you're going to hear is Director Sitnik, and this is what he said. Listen.
Я думаю, що так. Я ж йому теж не йому, а Хіларі допомагали.
Тоді ви там трошки шатнули, да.
Ні, це так пишуть там.
Ну, мені кажуть, що Хіларі погано було, не дуже.
Wow, Clinton Foundation.
Ну, я наскільки пам'ятаю, ви говорили, що для нас не було ближче Хіларі.
Ні, Трамп же ж він чисто в нього внутрішні питання домінують над зовнішніми. А Хіларі це якби це із тих політиків, що вони гегемонія Америки в світі. Для нас це так лучше. А для американців лучше так, це те, що Трамп робить.
У нас зараз ці американські страховці, це баба, мужик.
Ми ж оприлюднили дані про Манафорта, якого посадили. Манафорт ж був керівник цього виборчого штабу Трампа. Ну, я ж тоді це сторонив, зараз, в тому числі за те, що проходили початку бухгалтерію, посадили там, що 80 років телебомбили. І Трампа барабан, тому що у них система працює чітко. І коли були вибори, за неділю до виборів, FBI поновив розслідування відносно Хіларі. У неї рейтинг упав на 7%, і Трамп на тяжко переміг. Я таки не можу зрозуміти, що Трамп воює з FBI, і коли його доганяють. Якби не FBI, то він би не був президентом. Вони Хіларі погасили рейтинг на 7%.
Wow, that seems pretty kind of wow. Now, the only reason why anyone knows about this recording is because of a Ukrainian member of parliament in October of 2017, Borislav Rosenblatt. He filed a claim and said these guys are guilty of interfering with U.S. elections. And he had the audio. Ukrainian court agreed. Lysenko appealed the decision. Rosenblatt leaked the audio recording. But despite all of this being big news, front page news in Ukraine, nobody in the media here cared. They don't care. Okay, so then we find this big gap. Almost all of 2018, nothing happens because two things are happening. We're approaching a big date, and it's not this one. Nothing really happens because in the U.S., the Mueller investigation is underway, and in Ukraine, political upheaval is crazy, okay? So people, I think, are kind of in their shell. Nobody's moving because nobody knows what's coming. Remember, they set this whole machine up for Hillary. They set it up for the DNC. Now Trump wins. This is coming out, and their guy is becoming unstable. People don't like him there. Holy cow. So nothing really happens during 2018. And then April of 2018 or 29? Yeah, 2018. In April of 2018, the Mueller report comes